You guys see that Cup of Noodles is making a caffeinated gamer flavor?
I didn't.
I did not know that. I did not know you could caffeinate noodles.
You can caffeinate anything if you try hard enough.
I bet, yeah. What modern science can do for us.
Yeah, I don't actually know what flavor it is besides caffeine. Did it say?
I think it's chicken.
Okay. Well, maybe they'll make the vegetarian.
It's less ambitious than the breakfast cup of noodles they made last year.
Whoa, they made breakfast cup of
Yeah,
noodles?
That actually sounds way more appetizing.
It was,
Does it have egg
they
in it?
were no, it was sausage maple.
Just mushy chunks of pancake.
That actually sounds. What happened to it? That actually does sound. I would try.
Yeah,
it.
but that doesn't sound like it's for gamers.
Well, let's play a game called What Happens to Every Product That Comes Out That's limited edition.
oh,
nowadays.
stunt food. They don't actually make it. Well,
No.
they send it to
That's
influencers.
one option, but you're wrong.
Oh.
The other option is
Or they don't
it
actually
comes
mass
out
produce
in limited quantities. People buy pallets of it, and then they sell it on eBay. So then instead of paying 80 cents to $1.50 for a cup noodle, you pay 10.
Hey, now you can get Prime anywhere. Remember the fervor when that first...
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was mostly Europe, though, where they were, like, fighting.
Yeah, I
over it.
remember seeing those pictures, and it's like, man, you guys are dumb.
You know, it's gonna be even worse this time around because all those people that are reselling it, they know that gamers are money pigs. They'll know that they can charge top dollar for gamer shit, and they'll buy them.
How long do they have till it expires?
Right, but it's a joke product.
Can they put a waifu figure in the bottom of the cup so then it's like a gotcha thing too?
When you get down to the...
We should
Yeah,
cut
you
that.
scan the QR code,
Yeah.
and you get the cup noodle outfit for your
Yeah.
Genshin Impact
Yeah.
character. Yeah.
Stop giving them ideas.
Yeah.
These are too close to...
Don't put gotcha in my cup noodle.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back, folks. It's a good time to start as any. Now, we've already covered the demises of once legendary American gaming publishers Acclaim and THQ, but today it's time we tackle what many would call the third pillar of that trifecta, Midway. Whether you know them from the arcade or at home, Midway was an absolutely killer company that brought us the likes of everything from Defender and Joust and Gauntlet in the early 80s to Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam and NFL Blitz in the 90s. So what happened that caused them to go ass up? Those titles were huge. Well, a shifting market combined with poor financial decisions were the primary culprits as per usual, though we want to get deeper than that, really break it down for you guys, as well as celebrate the history together of an extensive catalog of landmark releases that touched us, like each of us at some point. This and follow where many of their best franchises went by the end. This is Hot Button. That's Fuse, who's whining on the floor there. I'm Randall Petrus. Here as always with Austin Blakesley.
Toasty.
Also joining us are Sean Chambers.
Toast.
You
You
ran
did it first.
and Matt Nudaboom.
Zug zug.
Who's ready to get retro? Talking old
Me.
school.
I hate retro games. Anything made before 2020, yuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I went through a phase where I was
gaming
like,
has gotten like so much better
yeah,
since the pandemic.
I can't turn my brain back in time, so I can't
Can you
enjoy
imagine?
that shit
Austin,
the same way.
Austin,
You're all breaking my heart.
Austin, there was a time
Yeah.
where you had to like literally just play the game for progress. Like I can't stand that. I just like want to pay something. I just want to pay the game so I can just boost my progress. It's just really, it's such a time saver for me.
Wait, you don't put, like, every time you boot up the NES, you don't just shove $1 in there?
No, I think someone tried to make a peripheral for it, but you know,
Hey, it had a sewing machine peripheral and a player keyboard, piano.
that's actually, I did not know either of those things.
Yeah.
That's actually very impressive.
All right, so Midway Manufacturing, as it was first called, was founded out of Franklinville Park, Illinois in 1958 by Henry Ross and Marcine Wolverton. They specialized in coin-op amusement park attractions, your crane games and what have you. Business was described as fairly steady over the next decade as they supplied equipment to carnivals and assisted with the production of hardware. By 1969, their independent success caught the attention of Bally Manufacturing, a top dog provider of pinball and slot machines since 1932. They were based in Chicago, and after a stint of constructing ammunition and airplane parts during World War II, were interested in getting back to their roots.
Their pockets were heavy.
They had that World War II money, you know.
It reminds me of I was reading an article called like the all the companies you don't know are weapons manufacturers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was like an old joke in The Simpsons where there was an Intel Inside on like a nuclear warhead, but like there's like Samsung torpedoes.
You know those ball jars that are very popular now. People like drink out of them. The jam jars that have the lids, the two-piece lids that you can seal.
Mm-hmm.
So the company Ball that makes ball jars sold Ball, the jar company,
Lockheed and Martin,
to another company so that they could fund weapons manufacturing. So they make weapons now.
Man,
is there crossover?
That's
in that
quite an evolution. Yeah, where's the middle Pokemon in this 3-stage?
I don't know. You make like air jet glass or whatever.
Well, they didn't want
glass in weapons.
A lot of people in the South would benefit from a ball jar that is bulletproof.
Fun fact: you can make weapons out of ball jars. You just throw a bunch of gun,
like a Molotov.
You just throw a bunch of gunpowder and nails into it. That's what The Last of Us did.
Yeah. No, you just fill it with gasoline and
and a wick.
And a wick. That's all you need. Yeah.
Well, they didn't want to craft weapons no more.
It's actually how Yankee Candle makes most of their money. It's like they just have all the wicks in the jars and they just replace it with napalm, and then they sell them. They sell them to Africa.
This man's just like, I'm bored of war. Let's go back to video games. Yeah. And this was especially when their then president passed away, all while their parent group, Lion Manufacturing, began to face bankruptcy. Thus, they bought themselves back and needed fresh-faced partners to acquire. One, of course, being Midway.
I think he got his balls caught in a jar. That's why I think he passed away. He's like, I don't get my company.
That's why they call it ball jar. Yeah.
Also,
I don't get it.
Randy, I feel like this is also World War II is the era where companies could, they could dedicate their manufacturing to weapons, but they had to face the reality that eventually the war would end and their services no longer needed, and they couldn't just say,
friend.
well, before the modern defense, industry.
See what you do when you do and that happens is that you use the money you made during the one war,
to fund another one.
Yeah, the next
to
one.
fund a bunch of politicians to start another one.
Exactly. Yeah. See, this was an era before they had discovered this lever you could pull and just be like, what if the war doesn't have to end?
No, they're not wars anymore. They're called police actions.
Yeah.
Totally different.
They pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. What do you mean the war's ending? What do you mean? Everybody's making so much money.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I gotta go back to making sewing machines. People don't even sew anymore.
I got so many kids in this sweatshop that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
After a few years of making mechanical arcade cabinets such as puck bowling and Wild West style BB gun booths,
puck bowling rules.
It is puck bowling does rule.
Yeah.
In 1973, they officially transitioned into the field of interactive entertainment. This starting with a close alliance to Japanese video game publisher Taito, who would regularly license their product for distributions in the United States.
The drum guys.
The drum guys.
I know you get into it, but didn't we brought up Midway before because they did Miss Pac-Man?
Yes. Yeah. Then the getting was
Check
good.
out the Miss Pac-Man episode for more.
Yes, please. With their only rival essentially being Atari. Speaking of. But then in 1978, something epic would drop, something the likes of which this industry had never seen before.
Mortal Kombat.
1978. Goddamn Space Invaders.
1978. What did they know?
Oh, right. Space Invaders was Taito.
Yeah.
What was it, like the Intel 7080 chip or something like that? What came out in 1978?
Space Invaders.
Space Invaders.
Yeah.
The monumental pixel shooter that struck nearly instant critical and commercial acclaim.
No, wait a second. 78. You're talking about the home console version of Space Invaders?
Specifically
the coin
arcade.
op. You know what? I did not know. I didn't know Space Invaders came out that late compared to because Pong was 72. So it's 6 years after Pong was the arcade version of Space Invaders.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
That actually is way later than I expected.
Some downtime, man.
Kind of funny how
because Space Invaders was like the start.
That's what set it off.
Mania, and then the Mania died down in like the crash when the NES came out in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Space Invaders was then just government propaganda getting us ready for current day.
Yeah.
They were training soldiers to fight off Space Force, everything. I mean, it's just crazy how much is coming out.
I retract just instinctively agreeing with you before I hear the punchline.
Yeah.
You know what?
It's like war games.
Yeah.
If Space Invaders was 78, I would say that is probably the demarcation point. You said that is kind of what kicked off like the arcade,
yeah,
mania. It's probably
we
the
covered it.
Yeah.
Space Invaders led to Pac-Man, led to Miss Pac-Man.
And I would say,
led to a bunch of other
led
shit.
to E.T., led
to
to
the Crash.
Aliens Are Real, led to.
Hey, you all reading my script? This is my job.
So
no, I just know things.
if that's the case, I'm willing to bet then Space Invaders is the milestone point for the second gen of games, because the first gen would be 72 to 78, and I guess
that's the proto. I still consider Generation 1
I would say
as
at Gen 1.
Yeah.
I would say that Pong and Asteroids were
when there's a
proto.
first of something, it's an anomaly. It's not until it actually inspires more. So in the span of just 4 years, Space Invaders accumulated $3.8 billion in revenue and $450 million in raw profit, and that isn't even adjusted for inflation.
Oh, that was my first question.
Like, this was definitely the highest grossing tech product of all time back then. Its influence is undeniable, and it truly helped expand the entire concept of gaming to what it is now.
Depends what you define by tech product. The car was pretty successful.
Entertainment product. Okay,
you can make a car entertaining. Like a GTA, there's a whole game based around it.
Yeah.
Garnering a whole new audience to the art form and ushering in an era of what many fans label the, quote, golden age of the arcade.
Yeah.
Yep.
The craze then continued 2 years later into 1980, when a former topic would do the impossible and dethrone its number one spot in the hearts of enthusiasts everywhere.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. I was going to say, anyone care to guess? And that's right. Our favorite hungry yellow circle / Smash character, Pac-Man, saw its glorious launch in the North Americas, thanks to our fine friends at Midway and their collaboration with Namco. And what can we say about Pac-Man that already hasn't been said before?
We did an episode. Go listen to it.
It slaps, and it ain't no Miss Pac-Man.
No, Miss Pac-Man's better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's still often referred to as one of the greatest classics ever. Plus, it too raked in billions, which is funny when you hear about how low the expectations were prior to its debut. Initially, they only manufactured about 5,000 Pac-Man cabs. That was until the sensation grew nationwide. In its first week alone, it pulled in over $8 million. It was beating Asteroids. It was beating the Star Wars A New Hope game. They leapt to get 100,000 more units assembled. Not to mention, the Avatar himself soon rose to become the figurehead of the hobby pre-Mario. Like the face of games.
Yeah.
And we're not even going to get into the merch and the Saturday morning animation. But however, the irony of Midway backing its quote unquote unofficial and frankly better sequel is amusing, considering the clusterfuck that Austin spoke extensively on in that previous episode.
8 million in its first week.
Check it out.
You said, right?
I'm sorry?
8 million in its first week.
Yes.
And that 70.
And that's on 5,000 machines.
1980.
80, sorry.
Yeah.
That's a lot of quarters.
That's also I will just say that is
some might say 32 million quarters.
That's quick math. That's so heavy.
That's a lot of money for an arcade game in the 80s. Like for a game, like a video game to pull in that much money, it's like that's monumental. Yeah, considering, as you said, it's like the people paid in quarters.
Yeah.
That's $8 million in quarters. Yeah.
They got to dump and count all that shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had hit after fucking hit, and nothing could stop them. I mean, this was the chapter of their past that also included loads of other notable releases. There was Galaga, Tron, Burger Time. In 1982, Midway was rebranded as Bally Midway following a merge of the latter's pinball division, which you can see on the side of the machines for things like Tapper and Spy Hunter.
Wait, is that like Bally's like casinos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
They used to have a pinball.
Yeah, they
used to make pinball machines that they sold that to Midway.
Yeah.
And then they just made the board and they spun
they
it.
just made
And they took the ball and they went.
They're like,
roulette.
what if?
They just made casinos and like gym equipment.
Yeah, I mean, all slot machines. They're glorified arcade cabinets now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah, and now a lot of them are tied to like some intellectual property.
Arguably ruining more lives than video games.
That's true.
The Sex and the
Checkmate,
City
atheist.
slot machine rules. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
So, does that technically make them the first game company to discover that there's more money in gambling than video games? Because let's face it, more companies have gone to join them.
Who, Bally?
Valley, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think they're the first.
No,
but they're one of them.
But they've got to be one of the biggest.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's whole companies in other countries.
Because
too.
video games at that point was still very, very young.
Yeah,
It's just like they might have been the first.
They were afraid it was probably like a trend. And
yeah. I mean, as I was saying, it's like...
But gambling is forever.
How many game companies were there before then that also decided to switch over into gambling? There can't be that many before.
Konami?
Yeah, but that was after.
Most recently.
Yeah, most recently, yeah.
Sega at one point did
And
right?
I guess now I'm thinking about it. Slot machines weren't digital. They didn't have a screen.
No, they were mechanical.
They were mechanical, so
probably less cheating.
I was going to say, you can make a lot more money off a digital slot machine. You program that bitch and never hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
By 86, you had the original Rampage. In 88, Bally Midway, along with Williams Electronics, the actual people behind Defender and Joust and all that. Also Sinistar and Robotron. I know it was a tad facetious in that opener there, but they were purchased by Nevada Holdings Company, WMS Industries. Their banner was reverted to Midway Manufacturing, and their headquarters was then moved to the Windy City into Williams' offices, despite WMS incorporating them as a Delaware studio, presumably for
tax purposes.
Yeah.
No other company does that, by the way. No one incorporates in Delaware. Also, I will say Sinistar, probably one of my favorite arcade machines.
Yeah?
I love Sinistar.
Is that the... I'm confusing that with Robotron because it doesn't not Robotron because Sinistar talks to you, right?
Yes.
It was that one of the first big. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Sinistar is the one where you're in. It's like you're in a spaceship and it's like a kind of a top down view and you have to kill enough enemies and then Sinistar shows up and what I love about it is yes, Sinistar talks to you in this very gravelly voice, but also it's like a boss fight.
But that's not the one with Evil Otto, right?
I don't.
What
think
am I
so.
thinking of?
No, I think Evil Otto is Robotron.
That is Robotron. No,
What?
No, it's Berserk.
Berserk.
Shit. Okay, I do remember the face on Robotron, the big.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like you would know the answer to this, Randy. What's the name of the fortune telling machine in Big?
Oh, Zoltar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sinistar, Zoltar.
Yeah.
My brain latched onto that.
They did retain a significant portion of the R&D staff, but only a mere 2 designers, creators of the aforementioned Rampage, Brian Collin and Jeff Newman. Or is it Jeff... I said Newman. It might be Nauman. Nauman. But
Nauman.
Also taken was the rights to Bally's back library as their mission appeared to shift over more to casino-focused endeavors.
No, man.
Nah, man.
Is he from Georgia?
No, man.
No, man.
Product launches trucked on into the 90s as they were formally absorbed with Williams. There was Total Carnage, the Terminator 2 rail shooter.
Oh, hold on real quick. I thought that transition was so seamless. I thought them merging was Total Carnage. I thought you were about to explain how it was like...
It was Total Carnage.
Continue.
That famous Addams Family pinball table was them.
Oh.
Yeah, the best-selling one of its kind.
Yeah, what about the machine where you hold the things and Uncle Fester shocks you? Was that Bally Midway? Yeah.
There was
they still do the halves things.
I don't
like
think
that?
you can hurt kids anymore.
Oh, that's no fun.
Okay.
They gotta learn
Society
some way that
sucks.
the stove is hot.
I need to
Yeah.
track down this pinball machine. Okay, when I was a kid and we went to Bell's Lake, that's right around the corner from me. They
was
had
it cooler than my haunted house table?
Well,
Oh my God,
here,
that was Gottlieb. Shut up
It
about
was
it.
Gottlieb.
So ready?
You miss it.
Listen to this, okay? Because possibly. Actually, you know what? The 3-floor one was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but
it was.
the thing this had going for it, okay, so at Bell's Lake, inside of just an old tool shed, they started putting arcade machines. Obviously, me and Chris spent way too much time in there, but there was a pinball machine. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like jungle themed. But the thing that made it unique is that you could get the ball up into the backboard of the pinball machine.
Oh, and then you played it vertically.
Yeah, played it vertically.
Yes,
and
I've seen that.
Of course, me and Chris were never good at pinball, and we never got up there. But we one time watched a guy who was so good at it just get absolutely, and it was fascinating. And I have no idea what the name of that pinball machine is anymore.
Pinball machines are wild.
Yeah, I remember it just very distinctly. It was like jungle themed. It was like jungle adventure, like Congo sort of thing.
You remember the one that we saw on the Atari 50? It was Atari made one, and the balls that were instead of the metal, they were pool. They were pool sized. It was called
Jeez.
Hercules or something like that.
You know where
right?
you can find that now, right? You can go to Hershey Park where they've
got one.
They've got one. Yes.
Also, it was like the size of this room.
Yeah, it was
fucking
well, because they were pool balls. It was like It was probably the machine had to
the actual like paddles were like the size of like your arms.
Yeah, it was like it was fun for the novelty, but apparently
it wasn't that fun to play.
Well, the thing is, the exciting thing about pinball is like it's very fast. Pool cues don't roll that fast. Yeah. It's basically like imagine just like watching a ball go up and then slowly roll back down. They don't roll quickly.
So here's where our tale, shall I say, gets a little bloody, if you will. Now, I am going to attempt to keep this section relatively brief, as the subject has been covered on our show before, long ago, probably numerous times. But as Midway was in search to scout talent and new IP, they tasked programmer legend Mr. Ed Boon and badass comic book artist John Tobias to create a violent fighting title that could compete with Capcom's baby Street Fighter II.
He's still so cool, like very socially awkward.
Absolutely.
You can tell he's uncomfortable giving presentations, but like. Every time you see him, it's an unforgettable
Boone
face.
was on Hot Ones.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Up until now, I did not know Tobias's first name. John
Tobias.
Really? Yeah, I knew Ed Boon, but I never knew, I don't know, John Tobias. Yeah.
Because you're just thinking of Cybot.
Yeah, because that's all, because it's easy to remember. Noob Cybot, yeah.
The short version is that they fucking did it, obviously. And in 1992, Mortal Kombat was born, a forever staple of Midway. So as our guys would handle the arcade side of things, Acclaim was in charge of the home market. Another connection. We're chock full of them. The live-action photographs and martial arts-driven tournament to the death vibed hard with gamers and critics across the globe, although unsurprisingly, less so with parents, advocacy groups, and
of course, Senator Jolie.
The government. Yeah.
So, just because I'm not...
Particularly the cartoonishly gory end of Match Fatality.
Right. Just because I'm not as familiar... Street Fighter, did they have a cabinet for their game prior to Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, Street Fighter 1 did.
Okay,
Street Fighter 1 came out in the late 80s. 2 came out like...
We just talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, right before, like a year before Mortal Kombat.
And we flash forward, we're at 92, you said right now?
Yeah, well, we're about to go into 90 the year after. So their wallets may not have been affected, but the ensuing controversy and damage control would land representatives in congressional hot seats for several months during 1993 and 94.
Lawyers' fees, something that video game companies will become more familiar with as time goes on.
And this all while the threat of regulation loomed heavy over dev teams and publishers alike.
Yes, and who else was at that senator? Oh, did you get to that yet?
I mean, it was all your characters. Yeah. There's I mean, on the game side or on the
game side,
senator side. Yeah. Well, Howard Lincoln and who was the from Sega?
I forget his name.
Yeah.
Too.
No, but who was thinking?
Check out our talks.
The 12 different episodes.
Yeah. Check out our 3-parter on this Supreme Court case.
Yeah.
Or not the Supreme Court, the hearings. And then our other 3-parter on the Supreme Court hearings about violence in video games, and then our 2-parter on Night Trap.
Yeah.
Yes, I was about to say who else was there, but
because this was we were joking about this last night, how that's like everything funnels back to this very singular moment.
Yes, so much of video game history.
Yeah,
all of video game history like funnels in and then spiders out away from this court hearing. It seems like
Night Trap will never be on a Nintendo platform.
Yeah. So I was gonna say who else was there besides the Mortal Kombat people, but just a relatively small producer of a game called Night Trap that had caught people's attention.
Sega.
And if you would like to, we have a 2-parter episode on that. That game is delightful.
It is.
If you want to hear more about these hearings and everything,
Mortal Kombat also delightful.
Yes.
I just remember
in a different way.
I just remember a guy with a funny name, and he was a stuffy fuck. So. That's
all. There was a lot of stuffy fucks in the room.
Joe Lieberman, Hillary Clinton, Howard Lincoln, pretty stuffy fuck.
Thankfully, after much deliberation, primarily on MK Lethal Enforcers and wacky fun topic Night Trap, an agreement on both fronts was found, and the Entertainment Software Ratings Board, or ESRB, was formed to take care of any future issues relating to explicit content in the medium. Smooth sailing through calm seas, the ESA. Also, for more on that, please listen to our various trilogies on the matter. It is probably, as you said, Matt, one of the most, if not the most important story in gaming history.
No, it is.
Yeah, it's a landmark.
It is, yes.
Yeah, and tune into our update where I'm sure we'll probably talk about how this year's school shootings were probably also blamed on video games at one point or another.
Yeah, never ends.
I mean, essentially, it was just like that moment is probably the milestone of transition into modern gaming as we know it, like the modern gaming landscape. Before that, it was just a bunch of fucks in like, you know, just making games out of like garages or whatever.
What's funny about Midway is that they also, like, MK like hogged the spotlight over their own Narc, which was the same year, like Williams and them. But anyway, the partnership with Acclaim to split the work down the middle with arcades versus console edition stayed strong. It's open season. NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat 2, that stupid Aerosmith light gun game, Revolution X. Play that.
Stupid?
I've never even heard of it. Never even heard of it.
Real dumb.
What if you could play a light gun game with a cursor on a bad controller while Aerosmith blasts in the background? Eh?
I got nothing.
What if I were to
for
tell you
this.
that there's titties in it?
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but there's also Steven Tyler in it, so
Yeah, that's
You know what? Package it up as a like a physical media anniversary release, and then charge me double for what it originally cost, and yeah, I'll probably buy 10.
Yeah.
yeah.
Then yeah, come with like a fake signed
scarf.
Yeah, scarf.
Or no, it can't just be one. It's got to be like 10.
Yeah.
And then it's like a
bunch of rings and necklaces and shit.
a collapsible mic stand
Signed copy of Aerosmith on DVD.
and his shit underwear.
Or not Aerosmith, Armageddon.
Because he's geriatric at this point.
Yeah.
Dumping on stage.
Their bonds with other industry giants would grow too. A relationship was built with Nintendo to give us Killer Instinct and Cruis'n USA. However, there was more cash to be made with these when it became more and more apparent that platforms in the living rooms weren't just to be a trend. You know, they've proven it themselves. It's no fad. See, up until here, all of their output to engage with that demographic was through ports. Why contract what you could do in-house? This was when in April of 1994, WMS, Midway's daddy, acquired Trade West, a studio run out of Texas since the mid-'80s who assisted in translating over Double Dragon, Battletoads, and Super Off-Road to places like the NES, Super NES, Game Boy, Sega Genesis, and Game Gear.
God dang, dude, they're responsible for so many of like I guess now would be considered classics, but it's like kind of the B titles on these, or I should say it's like the third party. Yeah, because Battletoads, man, it was just like and Super Off-Road too. Yeah, both amazing games to play. I mean, Battletoads, like, fuck it, don't play it unless you want to, like, have
unless you hate yourself.
Yeah, unless you want to have an aneurysm. But Super Off-Road is still fun to play.
Oh, it is. It's great. Same with Super Sprint.
Yeah, and it's like Super Off-Road spawned how many knockoffs of that, you know, of that
It was
variety?
probably Sprint first, and then, like, Their goal was to operate this crew as a sister company for their at-home software, so they no longer would have to rely on outside publishers, including Acclaim, who held a right of first refusal clause to them. Austin, you've explained this before. What exactly does it mean again?
In the context of this, I don't necessarily know. Right of first refusal is like
Acclaim had that.
They have to pitch it to them first,
Yeah,
but then
they
before they can.
If you are making any sort of business deal and you already have a partner, you have to pitch it to them first. They have to turn it down before you can go to other people.
Yeah.
Like if you're selling something or buying another company or like getting bought, like if Midway was going to get bought, Acclaim would have the right to buy them.
Gotcha.
Before
that holds some power.
Right. I mean, it essentially means that it's like, listen, we are first in line for every potential deal. If we don't, but we still reserve the right to turn it down, essentially. Which is like, that's a ton of power. You have privileged status in these deals. So
that's what EA did that
to Respawn.
And I think also Codemasters.
Oh, well, I guess I'm not surprised. They just bought them, so not that long ago. In 96, they were renamed Midway Home Entertainment and relocated out of the Lone Star State, consolidating their 3 branches into a larger building in San Diego. Employee Byron Cook later became CEO, and John Rowe took the position of vice chairman and director of product development. Meanwhile, Williams would propose a public offering of Midway's stock and transfer its video game copyrights and trademarks to MHE. This was how they wound up with all those retro titles like, Robotron and Defender and all that, like, and one for all the remakes and compilations. Like, they would do that probably every console generation.
Midway Arcade Classics.
Exactly. Yes.
Smart move.
Mm-hmm. I like the Treasures 3. I think they did.
That's
3
what it was called. Midway Arcade Treasures.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was called.
And it was like the first one was like all their action game. The second one was all their like fighting games, and the third one was like all their racing games.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
In the coming years, they would internally bring things like Cruis'n USA and Killer Instinct to the N64. Same with the Mortal Kombat trilogy, and that as well went to the PlayStation and Saturn.
They were the publisher of Killer Instinct, huh?
It was
at Rare
at the home versions. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say because Oh, you know what? Rare did Killer Instinct Gold, which was the...
Well, Rare developed Killer Instinct. They're just hey, we're helping you out with...
Okay, gotcha.
But, and like in Nintendo also, there was a lot of like logos on that. Also, War Gods, an original IP, if anyone remembers that, Matt.
Okay, I have this game, okay, and... War Gods has got to take the title of one of the most obscure games on the Nintendo 64 platform. I don't know anybody else that owns it.
It's like a knockoff of MK4.
It
like
is,
the
yes.
3D, yeah.
It's very much, and it's got like it's got like a roster of like 12 characters, and it's literally you're just a bunch of war gods, like from various cultures, all fighting to kill each other. It's absolutely
not offensive at all.
I mean,
they're fake gods, right?
They're like they're knockoff gods.
All right, that would have been funnier if it was like
like I think I'll never forget it. The Japanese one is just called Kabuki Joe, and it's just a guy in kabuki makeup with like a bow staff. I think
it's like a Way of the Warriors character.
Yes, it was kind of. And let me tell you, I have to say this: I've never met anybody else that owns a copy of it. I don't think I've seen it in game stores a lot, and I'm just like, it's the game that time forgot. Like, and it's just like, and it was on in the background of a Cold Ones episode, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, I recognize that.
I was like, I could not believe that it's just like, yeah, maybe Randy, me and you should just bust it out one time and just like, it's like, it's.
I think I touched it at your house in like middle school.
I was gonna say we should just bust it out and just laugh at it for an hour because it's like, from what I remember, it was okay. It was just generic. There was nothing that really made it memorable or special.
This was the time.
I'm kind of bummed out they couldn't flush out that lore more. You know,
they probably did.
It probably came with a booklet that had a bunch of bullshit in there that somebody had some intern had to write.
The funny thing is, the final boss is like an alien that came to
the ultimate
Earth.
god.
Yeah, that like apparently like resurrected or like, you know, brought to life all these guys. And then you got to fight him. He's got this green guy with like
take it back. This sounds great.
He looks like a green hammerhead shark dude. That's all I gotta say. He's on the cover.
I gotta check this out. Sounds great.
They soon tried their hand at wrestling before Acclaim and THQ swooped in and took the license. The arcade stuff trucked on too. Cruis'n World, KI2, Off-Road Challenge, which was a spinoff of Super Off-Road, which was a spinoff of Super Sprint. That partnership with the Big N remained tight. In 1997, NFL Blitz came to light, a tour de force to football and non-football fans alike. Even I enjoyed a good.
Did you talk about NBA Jam?
Yeah, came up briefly
because that was first.
It was. NBA Jam's
there was no NBA Jam on.
No,
64, right?
Oh, 64?
I think there was an NBA Jam. Didn't they port it? They ported it.
Did they?
There?
Yeah, I'm almost certain.
I specifically remember the SNES and Genesis one.
I do remember the SNES.
Can you still play as Bill Clinton in the N64
I hope
version?
so. I mean, he was still president by then, so you might as well. From downtown.
Regardless, Blitz is better. Come at me.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny? I don't remember if we discussed this on the THQ episode or not, but when the NFL Blitz, you know our arcade 1-Up? I'm just like, this is all off the cuff, but they put out an NFL Blitz machine. Not that, I think it was last year, the year before, but they edited it to be more. That's what I heard, and because the NFL still doesn't like that game glorifies relentlessly
CTE
tackling people for
all of the concussion shit that they've been trying to dodge.
And I think there was a little bit of work done to it, but maybe don't quote me on that.
Yeah, that was Blitz also the series that allowed you to give your players steroids?
That was the league. That was which was also that one we did get into where you can hire sex workers.
I'll never forget.
Bust your testicles open.
And of course the NFL didn't like it. If I were them, I would just be like, come at us.
Well, there's a reason why that was the last.
Yeah, well, there's a reason it's called Blitz the League and not NFL Blitz.
Mm-hmm.
That was after
they didn't have the.
That was after EA got the official.
The likenesses anymore.
EA got the exclusive rights to the NFL, and that was they were making an NFL Blitz game, and then became Blitz the League with all fake teams.
Because you don't have those other the Sega ones or Game Day.
But let's be real, that just trimmed the fat. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I played or rented a sports game, all I would do would be check people after the play and an NHL game, or tackle somebody after the whistle been called. Can you imagine if kids started focusing on like the steroid usage and they were like in class, what's your cycle? What's your cycle? I need like the God cycle.
Yo, man, I'm cutting. I feel like shit right now. It's okay, bro. You'll make it through, bro.
My favorite part of Blitz, the original, well, I guess it would be Blitz 2000.
Yeah,
that's like the updated one, was just tackling somebody after the play, and then they get launched into the air, and then you just keep tackling them and see how long you can juggle them
like
after the play.
Yeah, like it's a fucking character action game.
Yep.
Touch of death.
Yep, exactly.
A reboot of Rampage, subtitled World Tour, was then released.
Yes.
I loved that game. Yeah.
Yes.
Despite reviews, I don't know why it was treated so negatively at the time, but it's
so much better
I
than
know,
the regular
it is.
Rampage.
And it's more fondly recalled now, at least. But
Yeah.
Dude, yo.
I never played the Rampage arcade game.
my God.
Rampage World Tour was the first one I played.
Rampage the arcade game is like the single screen one you're talking
Yes,
about?
it doesn't scroll.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's not as fun as.
And all the locations look kind of the same.
Yeah, World Tour, yo, dude. If you were ever like, speaking of co-op games,
that's like a sleepover game. Like,
dude,
it is
I think the last time I beat that game was with you in high school. It was like me, you, and Chris. I want to say in high school, and you just stayed over the night. We played, dude. I would totally play Rampage World Tour again. That is one of those games that it's just fun as hell to play.
It's instantly just goes,
dude. Oh god! And then they made Universal Tour.
Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they were doing arcade versions of these games as well. I'm feeling like most of my experience with Blitz and like Rampage
was more in
arcades. Like
interesting,
when they were more popular.
In the N64 era, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you're gonna get
soon getting to the end of that.
You'll get to the end of that because the next generation, the Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation, was when my favorite Midway sports game came out, and that did not have an arcade version.
We'll get there. Tragically, their pride and joy, MK, would see rough times for a bit with the fourth entry's conversion to 3D, not taking off the way they had hoped. Its spin-offs, such as Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero, faring even worse. Yeah. Many calling it just one of the most terrible.
Fun fact, I went to a swap meet when I was a kid. I might have told this story on here before, but went to a swap meet when I was a kid, and there was a dude there that just had a box of N64 games, and it said $5 each. And my mom gave me a 20, and it said pick out 4. Do you want to hear? Do you want to hear what I picked out?
Yeah, this might not be cool if one of them is fucking Sub-Zero. Then
Rampage World Tour.
Nice.
It gets worse. Sub-Zero Mythologies.
You're helping Midway out.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Superman 64 and Quest 64.
I was gonna say,
oh my goodness!
I was gonna say Quest.
I got like 3 of the worst N64 games just by random.
That's why they were in that box,
dude. You got 1 gem and then 3 of notoriously.
No, but my story makes a lot more sense because I was not aware that Rampage World Tour had like low critical reception. That's probably why it was also in the box.
Dude, the only way you could have done worse is if you swapped out Rampage for like Glover. And that's like, you would have had like probably
Glover has got its followers out there. It came to Steam like last year.
Yeah, you know what? I've already had
There's a ton of people. There's a ton of people in this world that
don't worry, you got your wish. Glover 2 was canceled. So.
I bought Glover used at another place along with Rocket Robot on Wheels.
That's Insomniac's like first game, isn't it?
Yep.
I don't think I never played that one.
Pretty cool. It's very expensive.
It's a lot like Glover if it was better.
It leaves a lot to the imagination then because Glover sucked ass.
Yeah, it's a rocket robot on wheels. What do you want?
Yeah, what you get is what's on the tin.
It's cooler than a glove. In 19, gotta love
Tell
the
that
glove.
to OJ.
I don't worry. I'm gonna edit out all the Glover hate.
Leaving the OJ bit. I'm proud of that.
I'm gonna use AI to make Matt say Glover rules.
You know what they came up? For Glover, they looked at the hamburger helper like
really
mascot,
the hamburger helper and the Pixar ball, and they can put them together.
And they're like these 2 beloved characters are now coming to a Nintendo 64 near you.
I can't believe I never thought of that hamburger
put
helper
him on
fucking connection.
Top of the ball. And then make that the only way he can move around.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I've never played Glover.
Well, you got it right.
Honestly,
that is the game.
The alternate thought process is you just go around like I don't know.
We'll gift it.
You walk around on top of the ball, but you can like flick the ball at people because you're a hand.
Any part where you kill your
Dynamite
ex-wife?
game.
I should spend.
No.
I should specify
Not
to our
interesting.
listeners, Midway was not responsible for Glover, and it got more time than NBA Jam.
We just love hating on Glover. God, I could just keep going, but I'll end my hate.
In 1998, WMS would spin off its 86.8% interest in Midway to its shareholders, thus making the company an independent entity after almost 30 years. They did keep the subsidiary of Atari Games that they had as part of the deal, while sharing a portion of the Williams executive staff and offices. Of course, they did gradually terminate these material agreements and employee overlap, reducing the number of common members of its board of directors down to 1. But back to games. Gory comedy light gun shooter Carnival then graced shopping malls and bowling alleys, upsetting moms and dads everywhere.
I was actually genuinely afraid of that machine.
You gotta open up the door. You gotta flip the switch on the inside to change the big baby boss into a giant teddy bear. They actually like send out like pamphlets to like venue owners that like, hey, if people are upset, we've got like,
wow, they sent out like a more toned down version of it.
Yeah,
wow.
that was like built into it. Like on the board.
Yeah, wow.
There was right above it says the wussy switch.
Yeah.
For all you wussy ass kids out there.
There's just the PCB has etched into it just a crying Christian mom.
They then co-published a slightly flawed but ambitious port of Quake to the Nintendo 64. That's how I experienced it for the first time.
Quake.
Yeah, had split screen co-op. By 99, they officially phased out their pinball line, which real quick, hold on, about Quake 64. It had its own campaign that was different than the PC version, which was great when Digital Eclipse did the remaster of, same with Quake 2. They put the N64 version on there as well, which was rad. Pinball stuff's gone, and it only made sense considering they earlier transferred much of the rights in exchange to stay focused on those sweet video game assets. Near here was where they also rebranded that Atari Games Group into Midway Games West, this to avoid confusion with Atari Interaction.
I got a question.
Or Interactive. Yeah.
Do you get into where Bally went? Like the Bally properties?
The Vegas Strip, baby.
Yeah, I mean, they were absorbed into like.
Was that included in the Midway?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think Bally really cared.
Pinball. Oh, I know they didn't care at the time, but that was one of the things that like. Pinball was that thing that nobody gave a shit about, and then like the internet like hit
pinball's back.
Yeah, the internet hit its stride, and everybody like all of these properties that people like us got punched in the face in school for liking is just all of a sudden super popular, like Dungeons and Dragons and pinball.
Yep.
No,
everybody's just like, I love pinball, and like I should wedge you, but
there's even a cult of personality around like crane games now.
Oh
like,
that's
huge.
Mm-hmm. You know,
you can control them over the internet.
Yes,
you can.
I reflected on that in that one when I do my PAX coverage. It was just like I was just reflecting on it. It's just like, it's like, dude, D&D. It's like you did not like if you played D&D, you did not want people to know about it. That shit was. For nerds.
A more obvious example is like the Marvel and Star Wars. Like now it's just ubiquitously a part of all culture, and that's something when I was little, like.
And now D&D, it's just like, it's like
now those people are way nerdier than me. They're posting on message boards about Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. I'm like,
literally, Baldur's Gate 3 came out this year, and it's like,
and it's the biggest
everywhere.
thing in the world. Yeah.
I talked to Randy about it when, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but I talked to Randy about it when Baldur's Gate came out. It's just like something about the internet, and I'm like 50-50 on it. Half of it makes me happy, the other half upsets me. Or like something about like these nerdy ass properties and the Marvel movies and the internet has just made it like totally okay to let your freak flag fly.
Yeah.
Where it's like people who would have beat me up before and like are super into sports are also like, well, if I use level 4 Misty Step, and I'm like, you fucking nerd.
Oh my God.
This is why we got to bring bullying back just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
You know,
like you see somebody holding the Dungeons and Dragons player's handbook, just take it from him and hit him with it a couple times, and then give it back.
Yeah, then give it back. Not till they fall down. As they're in their days, it'll be like, oh, here
just
you go.
Just leave a bump that they have to rub while they're DMing.
No, take it all the way, swirly their ass.
I mean, it would destroy their expectation and control of wanting to own like all these like the things that they're define their
then maybe by. Wizards of the Coast wouldn't have enough money to send the Pinkertons after a dude that accidentally opened an early copy of a Magic the Gathering set.
Couldn't believe that was real. We have to cover that.
We will.
So real quick, the Atari thing. I'm not going to get into it because I've bitched about this on our show before, but the tangled fucking web of Atari and that name is a goddamn mess. And all you need to know is that this is not the Atari you're thinking of, and the Atari today isn't this Atari either. I'll do a full episode on it eventually, but you know what I mean. Like,
we'll get into it after we do infograms.
So yeah.
Infograms?
Infograms is another one of these like weird third-party companies in this era.
Which I think they were owned by one of these
I believe
Ataris.
They were owned by this Atari.
Yes.
So they might
the one that published like the Matrix games and stuff like that. Okay. Games and more games. That's the important shit. And the act of this retroactively added that deal. Everything from Stun Runner, Clax, and Pit Fighter to Primal Rage, Area 51, and San Francisco Rush to the repertoire. Plus Gauntlet.
I was waiting for you to get the Gauntlet.
So this was a biggie. Step aside, California Speed and Mace the Dark Age. Then outside of those, you had Hydro Thunder, Blitz 2000, as Austin said, sequels to the Cruis'n and Off-Road series, each from inside their doors eternally. The single Rampage I didn't play, Through Time or whatever.
Oh, you know what?
Because it was Universal Tour, which was N64.
That actually, okay.
I think Through Time is only on PlayStation.
So I
played Rampage Through Time.
I have to say, okay, so I played Universal.
And Hydro Thunder is great.
I played Universal Tour. It was okay. I never played, but Through Time seems like a lot of fun.
Because I think Universal Tour is when we start going to space and hell and everything.
Yeah, World Tour is still the best one.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say Through Time sounds like it's like all of like historical like aesthetic and architecture. You can like bash on that. It sounds fun.
Wait, Hydro Thunder, was that post Wave Racer?
Yes.
I had like a hilarious
boat racing games.
I was driving home from work. It's so funny you bring up Hydro Thunder. I was driving home from work. No, somebody was like driving, and I was like, I like in my head, I'm thinking of a joke. Like, you drive, like your steering wheel is the controls in Hydro Thunder. And I went Hydro Thunder first, not Wave Racer.
Muscle memory of
they were all over the place, and I was like, I get it. You're struggling. It's a single joystick.
And next up is Ready to Rumble Boxing, rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They were big.
Yep.
Especially during the launch of the Dreamcast.
Yeah. I rented a Dreamcast, and I rented it
when
with
you could do that.
Ready to Rumble Boxing, the first one.
Yeah. Then there was a modernized reimagining of Gauntlet with Legends. Later, Dark Legacy would drop on pretty much every platform. I've personally sunk so many hours of that with friends. Yeah,
I am now and actually Gauntlet Legends is now the latest addition to my Nintendo 64 collection. We found it over at
I went to a bachelor party and somebody brought an N64 with a EverDrive in it.
That's a good night.
And I unintentionally took a tour through Midway because we played Blitz 2000.
Right.
We played Gauntlet Legends.
Yep.
We played Rampage World Tour, and then we played Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Yeah, you really did go all around.
Or the Mortal Kombat trilogy.
Mortal Kombat trilogy, yeah.
That bachelor party sounds similar to like the stereotypical bachelor party, because if the bride found out, she'd drop it.
Yeah.
That's what you did?
I thought it was just
30 guys
coke and hookers.
Yeah, 30 guys packed into a house playing N64.
You spent how much on that EverDrive? We're trying to pay for a wedding right now.
Listen, it pays for itself. It's only going up in value.
Well, now it's your turn. Another co-publishing joint. This with 3DO. Army Man Sarge's Heroes.
God dang.
That was a goodie.
God.
I was going to say it holds up because you dove back into it fairly recently.
Yes, and I
still looked fun.
In fact, I was having a great time with it. That Mission 4 was just
a clever concept.
You know what? If you have the EverDrive turned on, Halloween we're probably going to be playing a Resident Evil game eventually. But if I get some time, I had so much fun going through the beginning of Sarge's Heroes. I would love to go back to it, and it's just like Sarge's Heroes is again, it is a
never beat 2.
It is a B game classic.
It is
a ton of fun to play even today.
I can't think of that game and not think of a bargain bin in a toy store.
Yeah,
but still I mean that in like a good way.
You know what's funny though? It's fun to play. It is challenging, very challenging. But if you can overcome that, there's a lot of charm in that game, in my opinion. I think it's just so
saying,
fun.
Free Halloween costume. You just get everything spray green,
yourself all
and
green.
then you have to get a piece of like, I don't know, cardboard.
You have to walk like a snowboard.
Yeah, you have to strap a piece of cardboard to your feet, and then you just have to, do that all night.
That really is such a good idea.
It's an awesome idea, and it's free to use.
So this one's for me. San Francisco Rush 2049 kicked ass.
Oh yeah.
I actually prefer the home version because the arcade one doesn't have the ability to pop the wings out on the side of your car. And
game kind of sucks.
Fucking kidding me? It's great.
Cruis'n World is better.
No, it's not.
2049.
And I played the hell out of both of these when I was
It's all flying cars, right?
What's up? Oh, 2040. Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah,
it's all flying cars.
Technically, they're gliding cars, but you can get airborne if you drive 120 miles off of a hill. And
they added the battle mode in there too.
Yeah.
What was the game that had Bill Clinton in a hot tub?
That was Cruis'n USA. That was the first one.
Yeah, that's the best one.
The whole point of the game is you're trying to race to Bill Clinton's hot tub party.
Yeah.
It wasn't Mr. Mosquito. What the hell was that game?
Mr. Mosquito.
Mr. Mosquito.
Yeah, where you played a mosquito, you gotta go.
Yeah.
There's a girl in the hot, not in a hot tub, in a bath.
Yeah. I thought that wasn't it like Don't Mess with Mr. Mosquito or something like that?
No, I think it was just called Mr. Mosquito.
Maybe that was the Japanese.
Wait, wasn't there like also where a mosquito was like a maestro?
Mad Maestro.
Oh. I don't know if there's a mosquito involved, but it was the same. It used the pressure sensitive buttons on PS2. But the other thing about Cruis'n USA that I think they trimmed out of like the N64 cut was the when you're going through in Washington D.C., the tunnel is all of flaming dollar bills with Hillary with a cigar on it.
Cool.
Still accurate.
See, how is San Francisco 2049 better than that?
Gameplay. But 2049, this being an example of a former Atari franchise being reignited. But then there was Mortal Kombat Special Forces.
What?
Which poor MK still stumbling around into the next millennia. You never played that one? It was on PlayStation.
It was better than
It was leagues better than Anthology. It still kind of sucked, but it was trying for something.
Yeah.
Moving into the aughts. On June 22nd, 2001, Midway sadly announced that their arcade division was ceasing. This due to an obvious decline in the market, an understandable decision, and now with a batch of fresh new systems to take priority. The PS2 was massive. GameCube and Xbox were there for us in our hearts. The Game Boy Advance was dominating the handheld space. They basically had larger fish to fry. Bigger fish to fry, whatever. Yeah. Speaking of, a from-the-ground remake of Spy Hunter was produced.
Game kicks ass.
It does. I love it. I thought it was cool. And but then there were lesser tier products that fill out the gaps in their release list. Shadow Hearts and Haven Call of the King for PlayStation 2.
I only know of Shadow Hearts because I think it's really hard to get a copy of nowadays.
It's probably mad expensive.
I think it's a JRPG if I'm not mistaken.
It sounds like one.
I forget. I'm transported back to when I worked for Game Crazy, and little did I know how much money was sitting on the walls if I just grabbed some. And then
gosh, I can only imagine.
Years.
Yeah, it's like when you see pictures of an old Funko-Land or Toys R Us or whatever, and there's just 80 copies of Earthbound on discount sealed or whatever. And you're just oh my god, all these N60 different color variants of the N64
that was the best when you had some kid bring in a game that was really hard to find and really expensive to sell online. Yeah. And you'd be like, all right, you get 35 cents store credit for this. Meanwhile,
this goes into my pocket.
I'm tucking it between the desk and the cash register, and I'm like, nobody is seeing that. I'm here by myself. That leaves with me.
Yeah.
I used to go into Bandit, which is a local game store to us, all the time.
Shout out Bandit.
And the guy would just there was the guy that worked there.
That's why I got a copy of Mega Man 5 on Game Boy. Was he just somebody brought in a big box of random shit, or sorry, Mega Man V, and he was just like, you just want everything in here for $20? And I was like, sure.
Quick turnover. That's before he got smart.
Yeah,
because then he started typing the stuff up.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I've let so much money walk out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I went to GameStop once with a box just like that. The kid behind the counter calculated up how much it was, and it was not enough to buy a new game, $50 in store credit. So he's like, I will just give you $50 for this whole box.
Well, a little bit more. Right, so that you could buy
he was
the
like,
thing.
I'll buy you whatever game you want if I can take this box home, because his manager wasn't there.
Yeah.
And he was like, if I put prices on this and then try to buy it from the store, even with my employee discount, it'll be cheaper if I just buy it straight from you.
I saw that.
That's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used to.
That's a win-win situation. The only people that don't win is the store, and it's like, fuck them.
I spent a lot of time in just GameStops as like a vagrant, and then just watching that stuff go down.
Yeah.
Little did I know, fun fact, little story. I was 15 the first time I like drank, and it was a couple GameStop employees that took me in
under their wing.
Yeah. Almost died that night. Watched somebody play Half-Life 2 on PC, so it was pretty good.
Yo.
Yeah.
Ate a cold chalupa.
Yeah.
Dope fucking night. The guy told me like the day after, he's like, if you died, I was just going to hurl your body in a dumpster somewhere.
That's a good friend.
And I was like,
there.
Hey.
That's the do for junkies. Like kids. That
I don't. It's hard.
Alcohol.
It's hard to know.
But I mean, aren't you afraid that any of your former employer, who is long defunct, is going to come after you?
Oh, oh no.
Yeah.
No, I'd have to buy it from the store. You know?
Yeah.
I was really nervous to do that transaction. They had security cameras.
I used to let my friends in to see free movies at AMC all the time. Come after me.
That's why you're cool.
Yeah.
They don't have the money to come after you. They're doing bad.
I don't know. What about, not according to Wall Street bets? Right.
Nicole Kidman's going to come to your house and kill you.
Then we have, there's Fireblade, the helicopter action title. Yeah, man.
Yo, Fireblade. Also a fairly recent addition to my GameCube collection. That box look like it.
It's
like,
so, yeah.
Dude, no, the condition of the box that I have for it looks like it got it got chewed up in like a.
I don't know what people are doing with their games when sometimes
I don't know, but now I'm a proud owner.
There you go.
I own a lot of these games that you've been talking about so far.
Proud?
So.
Wait, you mean you don't just put peanut butter on your case and leave it on the floor, and then go outside and shoot a basketball for 3 hours? Come back. Oh. What happened? That's the way I tell myself.
Really
every time I buy a new kitchen product, I spill it on a stack of video games to see how sticky it gets. in case I spill it on the floor.
By this era, they were beginning to have the reputation for being the folks behind the quote-unquote B game. If there ever was one. This when compared to their competitors like EA, Ubisoft, and Activision. Yeah. In fact, the highest budget project within these months was Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, a decent attempt to straighten the ship from years prior. Yeah. It also sold well, something they desperately needed when calculated against the several misses in their catalog. Yeah. The underperforming of such releases caused Midway to close down their West branch in February of 2003. This was a bad fiscal for them, and it was accelerated through the year. Freestyle Metal X, MLB Slugfest, Dr. Muto, Freaky Flyers, and guilty pleasure of mine, Roadkill, the post-apocalyptic auto combat game. All failed for them commercially.
Roadkill was them, huh? But also, it's like, I remember, wasn't one of our friends a fan of Freaky Flyers? Didn't they?
That was Alfred.
Alfred liked Freaky Flyers, yeah. So it's like it must have been.
Flyers is stupid.
I was gonna say, it's like there must have been some fun in it, but it's like you just look at it and you hear the title, you're just like,
any fun to this?
Yeah, it's like, why am I playing? Same thing with Dr. Muto. I remember seeing that on game shelves back in the day.
Same, yeah.
And just looking at it, and I was just like, and it just thinking it's just like who? It just didn't seem like a game I would want to put money on.
That one feels like it came late to the character-driven 3D platformer.
It was a character-driven 3D platformer.
I think so.
You know what? You look at it, it's one of those games you look at and you're just like, yo, is this a what do you call it, like a royalty character title? Like, is Dr. Muto like a Nickelodeon character? And it's just like,
no, you're thinking Attack and the Power of whatever. Who cares?
Oh yeah,
they're like, those guys got Mario. Those guys got Crash. Those guys got Sonic.
I'll tell you what we got.
We got Dr. Muto, whatever.
Kicking off a
you
franchise.
Forgot Blinks.
Blinks, oh, right.
Yeah. How could we? But this amounted in about
You left out NHL hits. I have to talk
I'm sorry.
about NHL
okay, all right.
hits.
But this resulted in a $150 million loss in relation to the $93 million in spending.
What happened to the billions of dollars they had 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
It's all gone. NHL hits. It's
Yeah.
That is like the hockey version of Blitz and
yes. So
like
they
NBA Jam.
After
right?
NBA Jam, they made Blitz, and then after Blitz, they made Slugfest and Hits. And there might have been a soccer one. I'm not sure.
Shits.
But shits, yeah. But there was I don't know. Hockey's the sport where it makes the most sense to have an over the top thing where people are hitting each other.
That's true. It already is.
It just made it real hockey.
Yeah.
Blood all over the ice.
You just like they had like a whole fucking system for fighting, and you could like cut people's necks with your skate and check them through the glass.
Right. Like,
sounds great.
Is there any sport where a neck has been slit?
Yeah.
Any.
I think we talked about
hockey.
Yeah, that's any other sport.
No.
Yeah.
That's why hockey is the toughest sport out there. Good.
So they're not doing well. However, they were still able to finance their budgeting with stock and debt offerings, as well as various credit arrangements. This led to Sumner Redstone, an American billionaire and media business magnate who was a majority stakeholder, also prior head of Viacom CBS, to increase his stake, now owning 80% of the company.
Shit stain.
Going into 2004, a correction course was planned, and in an effort to ramp up development, Midway arranged to go on a buying spree and acquire indie studios to strengthen its in-house production teams.
Okay.
In April, they got Surreal Software in Seattle, the crew who made the Lord of the Rings Fellowship game, and after tasking them in creating another IP for their cachet, this came in the form of The Suffering, a horror shooter that would see both critical and sales success. I certainly dug it. Yeah.
It's a game I've heard of.
Yeah.
That's a heel
Give it
turn.
a shot.
It is, yeah. Lord of the Rings to
The Suffering.
Yeah, The Suffering.
Later that October, Midway purchased Inevitable Entertainment out of Austin. They also became Midway Austin in turn. But they did Tribes, Aerial Assault, and The Hobbit. Not the movie. The Hobbit game.
Yeah.
Did you just say not the movie? As if any of us would be confused. They branched off. They went into film.
10 years into the future. Elsewhere, other debuts would happen. Mortal Kombat Deception was an alright follow-up to Deadly Alliance. It had tons of content. Chess, fucking go-karting, the puzzle minigame was dope.
Oh, that reminds me of
any of you all like...
You know what?
Mortal Kombat Deception was wild.
You know what? I never played Deception. I did not know it had all those mini games, but that sounds about right for the Mortal Kombat people.
Yeah.
I hear that it wasn't that good otherwise.
Probably not it's still, you look at the early years of Mortal Kombat and the newer years of Mortal Kombat, and this is still the dark middle channel.
It's fine. Yeah. It's fine because I'm fairly sure the lowest one out of all of them is probably the next one, Armageddon.
Yes, but Armageddon of those 3D ones, but it was this is still a step above those spin-offs and 4.
4. I remember 4. People did not like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a weak entry.
It's better than Shaolin Monks.
No, nothing's better than Shaolin Monks.
Yeah, Shaolin Monks.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But the publisher also then got into the realm of compilations with the Arcade Treasures line that we mentioned. But those aren't fucking cult favorite PsyOps, the Mindgate conspiracy.
I've been meaning to go back and play that because my infant, dumb brain, I guess I was like a teenager. Yeah. Anyway, I just couldn't understand how fucking sick that game was at the time. And every time it worms its way back into my brain, like a PsyOp, I'm reminded, like, I need to play this.
It's that thing when it's like, do you remember when Gears of War came out?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I was, like, the person who's like, y'all got to play Kill Switch. Because it's just
yeah.
That was, like, when
Force Unleashed came out? Or?
I was going to say when Control came out.
Oh, Control.
Everybody was freaking out about it. It's like, y'all got to go play PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy, because it's just doper Control.
It's for those out there, it's an awesome, power-infused, hyper-violent action shooter that many loved, even if the numbers didn't quite light the world on fire. But let it be known, it's a rad fucking game.
Yeah.
Dude, the name of it, though, it screams 2000s B game.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait, if you know what the cover looks like, too.
Okay. How much is it these days to get a hold of?
That
I have it.
Yeah.
I bought it pre everything getting jacked up for like
That's
$10.
True. Who knows?
So it can't be that bad.
What what platforms was on. What is the
PS2 and
PS2 and
Xbox?
Xbox.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, did it ever get a 7th gen? But yeah,
No.
I imagine the Xbox probably runs it better.
That's what I have it on.
Yeah.
They also have like, if you don't want to play through the story to get all of the abilities, you can just jump right to like an arcade mode where they just give you everything and you can just play around.
Wow.
There was also a training room where you could just spawn dummies and throw boulders at them, and I did that for a while.
Yeah.
We're now in 05. The Suffering, Spy Hunter, and Shadowheart saw sequels. Classics such as NFL Blitz, Rush, and Area 51 were rebooted. The last one coming from that Austin developer. It wasn't fantastic. Neither was LA Rush, for that matter. But as Austin, MK Shalamonks, it was real neat. They
I didn't say it wasn't
spun
neat.
that franchise back into something
I
interesting.
think it's the best spin-off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think Deception.
low bar,
I think
man.
Deception is the high point. Of,
It is.
Okay,
Okay.
you know what?
You can make the argument for Deadly Alliance.
Yeah.
So I was always under the impression that
But there are fans today who are still clamoring in 2023 for like
No, this is
another
good.
one of like an official sequel.
no, this is good.
to
'Cause
Shaolin Monks,
No.
or at least one of a similar kind.
I'm happy to have my understanding corrected, because I always thought it was just like Deadly Alliance was like kind of the high watermark of like the 2nd gen MKs, and then Deception and Armageddon shit the bed. But it sounds like Deception
I think
did.
it's like fighting games in general around that time. It's
Yeah.
like people were into Melee and Soul Calibur, but outside
it depends what you're into, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're like super into fighting games, then yes, I think Deadly Alliance is better. But
Yeah.
as Randy said, like Deception had just so much shit to do
Yeah.
that wasn't just Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And also it had a lot of characters
It did.
that were great and are coming back. A lot of characters from Deadly Alliance and
That's true.
Yeah,
This was the
Deadly Alliance and Deception are being put into MK1.
I just knew that that I don't want to say trilogy because it wasn't, but that
kind of
release of games
Yeah.
being like, oh, okay, Mortal Kombat got their shit back together.
Mhm.
That's
Still
what I know
canonical.
those games.
And then
those games are.
And Shaolin Monks, like
and we'll get to it later, and then the best Mortal Kombat came out. after-
don't worry, we'll cover that too. But like these were like Shaolin Monks was risky. And that was at least like that was commendable. Like making like Mortal Kombat a like
Adventure.
an adventure RPG that you could like play co-op and stuff like
Yeah.
that was certainly different. And strangely, like they were also involved with a Midway with a version of Unreal to the Xbox as an exclusive.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Unreal Tournament. They did it for Xbox.
Unreal.
Or
Well, they did
360?
Unreal 2,
Okay.
which was the story one, and then Unreal Championship, the Leandry conflict,
That's right.
Yeah.
which has the best back of box quote ever.
What is it?
Second place is dead last. I love
Also,
that quote.
also,
edgy.
I really love how they could have just left it at Unreal Tournament and it would have been clean, but they had to add like
they need a
sci-fi-
sub.
this sci-fi, the Leandry conflict. That just
What the fuck does that mean?
dude? Unreal Tournament has
Buy
like
it
it
and
has like
find out.
Unreal Tournament has a punch, and you know what it is. And then you add the Leandry conflict, and you're like, what is this? A fucking Frank
Well, that
Herbert
was-
novel? Like, what is this?
That was in response to like a bunch of different stuff. Like Unreal Tournament still existed. Unreal Championship was the console version.
Yeah. Okay.
And Unreal, because it was a big deal when Unreal Tournament 3 came out.
Yeah,
That was the
I
first
remember that.
Unreal Tournament on consoles,
Yeah.
because they created Unreal Championship specifically for consoles.
That was on 360.
Yeah.
Unreal
Three-
Tournament
three
3?
was.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
If
thinking.
you look at the box art for that, and it's crazy seeing the Unreal logo like as a part of the game logo.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I have a Xbox 360 faceplate for Unreal Tournament 3.
I had one.
Yeah. I think I might have stole it from Game Crazy. That's probably where you got it from too.
Yeah, I think I might have stolen one too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This and there were early talks of bringing a few of their IPs to the big screen. More on that in a bit. In comparable fashion, an agreement was signed with Cartoon Network and Adult Swim to distribute titles based on their television properties. In August of that year, Midway grabbed Australian dev studio Ratbag Games, renaming them to Midway Australia. Their forte was racers, except this wouldn't really go anywhere when, in just 4 months after, in December, they were shut down. Majorly screwing over its employees, literally giving them only 2 days' notice to vacate the premises.
Damn.
Yeah. This being in part to their year-end report of continuing to be millions away from their targeted profits. Like those financial goals. thus leading Redstone to vote his shares in favor of electing his daughter, Sherry, into the a chair on their board.
Did she have like good credentials to be on that board, or was it just nepotism?
Oh no, it's got a good ring to it. Shares for Sherry. What's better than that?
I'm going to assume it's probably the latter.
Yeah.
So our dear Midway, who was only just half a decade ago, held like the fourth top spot sales-wise in AAA games publishing, was now sitting at a lonely 19th by holiday 2005. The misadventures of Ed, Edd, and Eddy wasn't going to cut it. Staggering along to 06, miss after miss would occur. NBA Ballers, Mortal Kombat Armageddon, both not being cheap to make.
NBA Ballers is also rules.
Then there was Gauntlet 7 Sorrows.
Oh my God.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
You want to? I have a very small story, but that was I had an Xbox. I had like a super old TV in my room, and for Christmas I got a CRT like newer with HDMI, or not HDMI. Jeez, the
VGA?
component
cables that I could just put them right in the front, so it was easy.
Yeah.
And I got Gauntlet 7 Sorrows, and I tried going online because I had Xbox Live from like Halo.
Yeah,
and it wasn't fun.
It was not good.
No, and I remember we wound up playing Gauntlet as like the next addition to whatever, and it was just like I remember after putting so many hours into Dark Legacy and loving every second of it.
Yeah, and we were excited for this one.
And we were so like that is like one of those questions you asked Randy. It's like, what is like a big gaming disappointment? And I remember Seven Sorrows was just like, dude, we were so hyped over this coming out, and then it's like it was just
couldn't even do 4 people. Fuck that.
I was the Seven Sorrows.
Yeah.
All 7 of them.
Like when I said like NBA Ballers and Mortal Kombat Armageddon were not bad, they just didn't pull in the dough like they needed. Yeah. And like Armageddon was the one that had like 1 billion characters in it, even though it was missing a lot of the core like fighters that you'd want.
Yeah. They changed a formula that needed barely any changing to be fun. I would have said it's just like they changed the formula. First of all, they took out, like you said, the 4 players, which makes it,
for Gauntlet.
It makes a ton of fun. And 2, it was just like, if you wanted to make that game better, find a way to make the existing formula more like robust and dynamic. Don't just throw it out.
They're supposed to be replayable too.
Yes.
Like there's this like this hook, like this loop, and that did not have it. And then so like sticking with the like the follow-ups that did not deliver. There was Rampage Total Destruction, which was it was okay.
I don't remember that.
That was like the GameCube Rampage. It was
it wasn't good.
Instead of the side scrolling, it was it's kind of an interesting idea if I describe it, but it would be like a screen behind a screen behind a screen, so it had like a Y axis, like you jump between.
Gotcha,
like the foreground and the background.
Yes, okay.
But it just didn't have a lot of substance beyond that. But then there's Rise and Fall Civilizations at War. Nope.
It sounds like a game that I would play. It sounds like a game that I would play, and I would play it for 50 hours and say, like, it was okay. Yeah.
We'll have to look into it after this.
Now, what was it called?
Rise and Fall Civilizations at War. That sounds like generated.
Yeah. That sounds like it, dude. It does sound like one of those games I would have picked up just because I like the whole idea of Civilizations at War. It's like I would have just loved it. But I gotta think. What kind of game was it?
It's got to be like an RTS
like
type of thing.
There's no way it's not an RTS.
Why does the title sound like a book I'd find on my grandfather's shelf?
Yeah,
that doesn't scream "Play me, kids."
It's like a Total War game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that makes. Oh my God! Look at the box art of this.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that Cleopatra?
It's 4 different.
It's an RTS that incorporates third-person and first-person shooter gameplay by allowing players to temporarily control hero characters.
Wait.
Oh. You know what?
65.
Not to be confused with Rise of Nations, which is what the Age of Empires 2 people went on to make, and you can see like the fingerprint of it. And Rise of Nations is that's like a sleeper game, a lot of fun.
That cover like looks like 4 Assassin's Creed games all wrapped up in one.
After this, there's some there's tie-ins. There's the Ant Bully and Happy Feet. But this one I want to stop on for a sec. Spy Hunter Nowhere to Run. Their latest installment, and one destined to be basically like the second piece to a film. It was like a companion like game to a movie of the same name.
Is this the one that had the rock on the
yes,
I was just about to say.
Yes,
okay.
Starring the overrated energy drink slinging ex-pro wrestler, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Overrated?
I don't like
yeah, wait, hold on.
Come
He's
at me.
got vodka too, or yeah.
No, he has
Tequila?
Tequila?
Yeah.
Didn't you say it was terrible, Austin?
Oh, Terramata?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is it bad?
I mean, not great tequila. The energy drinks are worse.
What is that called again, the energy drink?
Zoa.
Yeah.
So, it's a pre-workout.
All energy drinks
Something.
are pre-workouts now.
So,
We've been abandoned.
I know. What happened?
Monster Energy and Red Bull are holding up the two pillars of us millennial gamers.
I need NOS
And
still
if one,
exists,
if
right?
one
It does.
crumbles, NOS does still exist.
NOS is the shit.
So,
NOS is great.
So basically, the short version of this fiasco was that the motion picture portion got trapped in development hell and fell apart. As did their adaptation for the Suffering that was going to get a movie too.
Wait, so the whole plan behind Spy Hunter was like, go see the movie,
Yes.
and then go home and play the game.
Yeah. That was exactly it.
It's like
That
an
was-
$80 experience.
However, the game itself, it did still see life on shelves. Like it kind of stunk, but they made it in a way that the film
'cause
did not.
The first half of whatever was going on was missing.
I think Matrix, the Enter the Matrix game did super well, like commercially, and they thought they could do the same thing. So like, I think there's parts of that game that don't make sense.
Yeah,
'Cause
I can imagine.
Yeah, like I don't even know if it has a definitive
It's
ending.
like the game starts, the movie ends with him like jumping off of a helicopter into the car, and then the game starts, and there's just like him jumping into the car.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That sounds better, honestly. And therefore, the series it was never touched again, and the Hollywood dreams died as the money used to greenlight what also would have probably been terrible was gone forever. Midway managed to stay afloat above those losses with their strategy of financing with those credit arrangements and debt offerings. Not that kick in the teeth in the movie industry swing was done, as soon after a legal battle ensued with Mind Shadow Entertainment, the fine people who created the aforementioned PSYOPs, over the rights when it was discovered that significant elements of the game's story were allegedly stolen from a screenplay stuck in limbo. Thankfully, these claims of infringement were dropped in the United States District Court when no proper evidence was found, but it was the last thing they needed right now.
So that do we have a title?
I couldn't
Did it
find
ever come out?
No. I think it was just one of those, like, what do they call screenplays, like a script that's
The Blacklist?
yeah, I think it was something on the
Okay.
from the Blacklist, but yeah. So 2007, or as we call it, the greatest year in gaming fucking ever, was here. That March, it was revealed that Midway had entered into a $90 million credit bond with National Amusements, a holdings firm controlled by Sumner Redstone. It was looking rough.
Yeah.
Although what's a shame is that their upcoming schedule for software was actually mad solid. Sure, you still had the licensed stuff like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Zombie Ninja Pro-Am, and that mediocre Area 51 Black Site, former topic.
Yeah.
But then there was Unreal
Mediocre.
But then there was Unreal Tournament 3, and fucking Stranglehold.
Hell yeah, Stranglehold.
Or,
Oh my God.
Yeah, these.
I was
like,
waiting for Stranglehold.
the
Randy.
successor to John Woo's Gun Fu epic Hard Boiled, where you
Bro.
endlessly shoot
And
bad guys in the balls.
The special edition came with a DVD of Hard Boiled.
It's it, yeah.
I have
that's
such
awesome.
a
Yeah.
treasured memory.
I
I'm
killed
hoping you remember this.
everybody.
I kill everybody.
I killed everybody.
I just-
because the pre-level cutscene would be like, "Hey, go in and ask about this," and then you'd murder 40,000 people, and then you just get chewed out by your
It's
fucking
like
boss.
it's like a restaurant, and you're
Yeah,
just
that's
murdering
right.
people.
Sliding on
And then
railings.
he comes out, and I think the first thing that came to my mind was, "I kill everybody."
But no, you didn't need to do
Oh man,
Oh my god!
I love him just sliding
That
down
really-
the railing.
It does live rent free in my brain. Riding on carts, you like would jump on like a cart and slide across the road.
What a great game!
It's awesome. And no,
it's
like,
up there with
re-releases
psyops.
Yeah, it's just raw fun
in the
like
Midway Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. And just over the horizon was Blitz the League 2. Call up the hookers, as I said. And Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. The entry that paved the way for 9 and what was to come.
Yeah.
And I guess more NBA ballers if you were into that. But did you guys play through like the campaign, like the story for Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe? Because it's wild.
It's insane.
It's so weird seeing these two like.
You know what? I never even touched it.
Or these two worlds, like.
Oh yeah, I beat it.
It's funny. You should look at. And I mean, long since pulled from like. I think those
licensing.
That's expired.
Well,
but I don't know. Like,
I mean, I don't want to cut you off, but the people who own DC would later go on to own Mortal Kombat.
But
Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. Why does this feel full circle in a weird way?
It does.
Yeah, but that game paved the way for both MK9 and Injustice 1.
Yeah.
Which then paved the way for
like without Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, which was codenamed Mortal Kombat 8, there wouldn't have been a the 2011 like remake or reboot, the MK9 sometimes it's referred to as, but so less was going to be more was their newest philosophy though. Except then CEO David Zucker, not the filmmaker, resigned in March of 2008. And this a mere weeks after he was quoted in an interview discussing UT3 and how it was gearing to be an amazing year for him. Also, he was the third executive to quit the company in just 3 months. So, sort of telling.
Yeah, that's a sign of something.
That's what happened to, what do you call it? I think it was Cyber Dreams, the people who did and it's like towards the end they had some executives leaving, and it's like that's usually not a great sign for your company when the executives are quitting.
That's the writing's on the wall there.
Yeah.
But then taking over for Zucker was senior vice president the Matt Booty. And regardless of a couple of minor victories here and there with releases, that summer would see the shuttering of both their Los Angeles and Austin studios in order to trim costs. This left them with 4 facilities, Newcastle, San Diego, Seattle, and of course, the Chicago headquarters as, titles, or I guess this was when Blitz 2, it was Blitz the League, this is Blitz 2, and TNA Impact barely squeaked out of those other offices in time. By November of 2008, Midway reported that its current resources, quote, may not be adequate to fund working capital requirements, and that it would need to initiate cost-cutting measures to seek additional liquidity sources.
You just need like a subtitle under there that just says, "Hey, we can't pay you."
We're broke.
Yes.
It's gone, dude.
What do you want from us?
We drank that shit, dog.
You want to think, what was it with these? Operating capital? Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that essentially means like we don't have payroll money.
That's what's happening to Boston Market right now.
No, not Boston Market.
Oh, no.
But think of the mac and cheese. On the 20th that same month, they stated that they were going to evaluate alternatives and pursue, other avenues. But then the next day, they had received a New York Stock Exchange notice of them being delisted.
Wow, that's impressive.
This after the price fell below $1.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stocks below $1. They must have really hated those guys.
And the national economic housing collapse only exacerbated their worsening condition.
I'm curious if they lasted longer than FaZe Clan is currently lasting.
FaZe Clan is publicly traded?
Yes.
They lasted longer.
FaZe did?
No, Midway
did.
Okay,
thank God.
Imagine that. They IPO'd a couple years before this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, imagine your flame flickers out faster than FaZe. FaZe up.
That's what happens when you like...
That company literally has children.
They hired the chick from Stranger Things and then like emotionally abused her or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah. Didn't she say she's leaving acting altogether, I think?
I don't know if she's leaving acting.
Oh, maybe I know exactly what you're saying.
I think she's discussed it on stream before I read about it, but
from one scummy industry to another,
yeah. And so they had met their maker. MK vs. DC was the final game to sport their historic logo. launching just days prior on the 16th.
Wait, which game?
Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe.
Wow, that was it.
Kind of a ceremonious way to go out.
It's a good way to go out. Yeah.
Whether or not it even succeeded was like irrelevant at this point. December 2nd, Redstone sold his majority stake to a man named Mike Thomas, a private investor, and under his company, MT Acquisition Holdings LLC. It said that he paid around $100,000 for him, equating to 0.0012
sold
per share.
Are you serious right now? $100,000.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, dirt cheap.
He made out, honestly, except the $70 million in debt he inherited with it.
Oh, never mind. That makes sense. Okay. I was like, you sold the entire company for probably less than some of those people's salaries that were working there. 100K is like what? And it's like, 70 million in debt. Yeah, that makes sense.
And National Amusements wasn't thrilled with the transaction, but permitted it to benefit from their tax losses.
I'd go up to him and be like, "I'll buy you a cheeseburger and we'll do a handshake."
Yeah,
that's the best I got.
Yeah, throw in a ham sandwich and we'll do it. No, he's just like, you know what? When he sold it, he's just like, you know what? I bet this cold investment guy, he'll write the ship, Midway ship. He'll get it all together. Yeah,
upgrade that handshake to a high five, and you got a deal.
There you go.
It then became apparent to Thomas that Midway might default on the $240 million of their own debt. The previous debt was just Redstone's. Supposedly that sale of his stock caused clauses in 2 bonding issues signed, designed to allow shareholders to demand full repayment if they choose.
Ooh.
So, whoops.
Did they
always
choose?
Read the fine print?
Did they choose?
Well, so this deal then eliminated the publisher's ability to take advantage of the accumulated net loss, the operating losses, and separate assets potentially worth more than $700 million. This fuck up led to Midway Games and its subsidiaries to formally declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy on February 12th, 2009. A representative then spoke on the status, quote, "We felt this was a logical next step for our organization, considering the change in control triggered the acceleration of the repayment options. We're looking to reorganize and come out on the other side stronger." End quote. Sure.
Yeah, good luck.
I think we all know this next bit that happened. On May 21st, a takeover bid from Warner Brothers Interactive was placed. It checked out since they were already a collaborative partner. It was valued at approximately $33 million and gave them a bulk of what was left of Midway, including their building, staff, and copyrights to Mortal Kombat, as well as the internally developed The Wheelman that was finishing completion.
Oh, yeah.
That
The Wheelman.
Unforgettable Vin Diesel.
The game was dumb.
Vehicle. No.
Wait a second.
And the only reason that it got distribution at all was a co-publishing deal with Ubisoft. Because at this point, manufacturing was not on the table.
Was that where you could jump from car to car?
Yeah, it was like Pursuit Force.
Oh, my God. When you were bringing up all these old B games, the game that popped into my mind was like, I saw you play it once, and it was farcical.
It is. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
And I remember it's
a vaudeville act of car chases.
Something that lives rent-free in my mind, as you mentioned, is I remember there was just a woman who's driving with you in the tutorial missions who's very Spanish, and she says something like a line that's like "muy sexo fantástico," and I'm like, I remember pointing out to you, I'm like Randy, I don't think that's real Spanish.
That's so crazy. Listen,
I still remember how awful. I remember laughing out loud when I heard that because I'm just like,
one of the things I remember about that game, other than like the animation of jumping to car was so bad, it looked like a character model, just like you as a kid playing with action figures, just picked up,
and that's like how it was like.
And I think it was like ragdoll, because I remember if you blew up cop cars, they didn't want to show you hurting police officers, so the cop car, like any police like vehicle would explode, and then people would just ragdoll out of it, but then get back up and just start walking around.
Yeah.
Because I think it was also a third-person shooter, wasn't it? Like, you could get out of the car.
I don't remember.
I thought you
I don't know.
Listen, I'm the wheelman, and don't forget it. I live my life. What? Oh, I can't say that? Copyright. Okay. Boy, fantastico, baby.
When's this check clear? Because I think the other thing about it was that, sorry, I'm just trying to, like, trace back now. The visual, like the filter of the game looked really yellow.
Yeah.
Like just
dude,
color grading.
It had the what do you call it? The late 2000s
The Vaseline sheen?
No,
like
dude, the late 2000s realism filter. Everything's brown.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say it had jaundice.
It probably also had that too. Yeah,
it did have jaundice, and it was because of Midway's kidney failure.
Poor thing.
So yes, that
very
offer
poetic analogy, really.
That offer didn't come packaged like with Ubisoft with any assets from the studios in San Diego and Newcastle. TNA sat on the table. Elsewhere, plans for them to distribute the upcoming Torchlight and Leisure Suit Larry game were hastily nixed. Doubt that would have solved it.
Oh, man.
A week later, Midway stated that it would accept further proposals up to June 24th that season, just in case anybody wished to challenge WB. An auction was then ran immediately after, and no other bids occurred, thus canceling the hearing.
Damn. Think we can still get TNA flicks?
I don't think.
TNA, the wrestling.
Yeah. They're still interested?
No.
Cheeseburger? High five?
Didn't TNA get absorbed into
Probably.
AEW?
It's hard
everything
to
just everything just becomes a bigger
capitalism is just the giant amorphous blob that just sucks everything up. Yeah.
July 1st, the sale to Warner Brothers was approved. Mortal Kombat was theirs, along with the less valuable IP. Also, Threshold Entertainment, a film group that worked in special effects and produced such bangers such as the 90s Mortal Kombat movies, which we will get to, and Food Fight, the children's animated Charlie Sheen monstrosity that got buried for several years before inflicting its painful presence on us in 2012.
You know what?
So,
but it did. Someone,
as of like buying Midway, gave them that.
You know what's crazy is like the one thing I have to say is someone did a cut of all of Chris, of course, Doc Brown, the actor.
Christopher Lloyd? Yeah, he's in that. A bunch of people.
And it's just like, you listen, it's like, it sounds like he's the only person putting any effort into it. I was like, this seems actually like...
that movie's creepy. And it's also, I mean, just the look of it, but also the funny thing, you mentioned capitalism. Isn't that the whole messaging of that movie, is that capitalism is good? Like, it's all about the name brand foods.
Yeah.
Like
the generic foods are taken over and the name brand foods have to fight back.
Yes.
Some shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
July 8th, the dying Midway disclosed that it was intending to say goodbye to the San Diego office. That was until another hot button subject, THQ, just jumped right in there to, well, not save, but I guess prolong the inevitable. They spent $740,000 in the process and extinguishing any obligations with it. But I mean, THQ only lasted
like 2 more years.
Yeah. So, I think, did they make it to 2013?
They made it.
Listen to me.
They made it to 2012.
I know,
because that's when Saints Row 3 came out, and that was still THQ.
No, Saints Row 3 was 2012.
It was the same year as Skyrim. No, 2011.
2011. Yeah,
2011, you're right.
Yeah, November.
No, I think they didn't make it to 2012.
Okay. I couldn't remember. It's like, well, go back and listen to the episode.
Yeah, we have an episode on THQ.
Yeah. 2 days after, on the 10th, a settlement with Mark Thomas was reached, one that forced Midway to pay him and his affiliates $4.7 million. This in complete satisfaction of their debt. It also granted him to the publisher's creditors committee a, quote, irrevocable proxy to vote his controlled shares of common stock and forever relinquish his position to vote or dispose of said shares.
Damn.
Ouch.
Ouch.
One rubber check for you, sir. See you later.
The move reduced his claims by 93%, and our buddies at Midway were able to run as a debtor in possession. Sorry, this got confusing. Basically, it was an exchange for what was owed for the right to manage themselves.
Okay.
But anywho, the Warner pitch went through, totaling at $49 million, with the conglomerate assuming any liabilities, which then led to payments under Midway's key employee incentive plan of $2.4 million to company execs. More notably, the Chicago studio soon became a vital backbone of WB's game division as NetherRealm, which is an awesome name, by the way.
Yeah.
They obviously went on to make their Pride and Joy Mortal Kombat the best it's ever been, while taking pauses in between to make the Injustice series of fighters.
Which I think, now that since you mentioned, Mortal Kombat versus DC, or
you think they'll ever do that again?
My very first thought was, I'm like, this feels like a prototype Injustice here.
Yeah.
Like a prototype. Yeah. And it's like, and Injustice, people love Injustice.
They do.
Yeah.
July 14th, short time on here, Midway announced its closure of the Newcastle branch and termination of its 75 crew members. Sad, as they were the last remaining bastion of the creative side of the brand. The following month in August, their overseas subs in France and Germany were pawned off, again to holdings companies, Spius Media UG and F+F Publishing GmbH, respectively.
So GmbH is the German version of Incorporated.
Yeah.
That's like, and what was the first part of it?
Stupid. F+F Publishing.
F+F Publishing GmbH?
No, what was the first company's
Oh,
name?
Spius Media UG. Is UG another?
Yeah, UG is another one.
Okay.
I think they're both German.
That's sounds.
So I read the former then bought the London arm that same day. These European sales resulted in cash proceeds of $1.7 million and the eradication of related intercompany issues. By September, the home base in Chicago was kaput, was gone, and along with more firings, luckily much of the talent was picked up by Warner Brothers, so that's good. Early that October, Midway Home Entertainment and Midway Studios sold the intellectual property scraps for $100K to South Peak Games, distributors of mostly licensed tie-ins, but were slowly becoming their own with State of Emergency 2, Two Worlds, Legendary, Hail to the Chimp, Velvet Assassin, Raven Squad, Section 8, and Trine. But, boy, a lot of that is real crap.
It's just the names, though. One of them is called Section 8, okay? Yeah. Is it like...
you pointed that one out and not Hail to the Chimp?
Which was a Simpsons joke?
Yeah, I think it was.
Hail to the Chimp was made by the Stubbs the Zombie people.
Was it?
But also, it's like, I just think of Section 8 housing. So what is it? Like you're role-playing someone who has to live
No, Section 8 has nothing to do with Section 8 housing. I've played Section 8. My brain went the same place, but no.
Oh, God.
I think it's just a shooter or something.
So you're still talking about the housing, right?
Yeah. Raven Squad is... Oh, yeah, Legendary is the...
Legendary the box.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Concrete Jungle, baby.
Yeah, when it was announced, it was called Legendary the Box because it was about Pandora's box.
But was it the movie The Box that came out that they had to change that? Or
that came out, I think, when I was in college, and I never saw it, but I was always curious about it.
It's god awful.
It's bad.
It's bad, huh?
And Trine, I mean, not for nothing. Trine 5 just came out.
Yeah, no, it's true. Trine, I think, is like that's an exception to the
Trine has a big
State
following.
of Emergency 2 is bad, and I still think it's crazy that Two Worlds is getting a reboot or something, isn't it?
They made it Two Worlds 2.
They did make it Two Worlds 2, which is probably the most annoyingly named video game ever.
Now, this one's going to obviously be Two Worlds 2.
Was there a 3?
And the all ballerinas?
They should have called it Three Worlds.
Second Life. Two Worlds 2, Second Life.
So, wait, maybe that got canceled. I thought there was talk of a Two Worlds 3 or
there
Two
was
Worlds reboot.
I don't know if I got canceled. I think they just kind of said it and then never said anything.
Said it and forget it.
Yeah.
That was it essentially. The properties of Worth have all been rehomed or disposed of, or were they? Because I can hear you three now. This is so sorted. But what would the show be without more lawsuits?
Oh, of course.
Woo! Let's do it.
Dude, I'm going to learn.
This will be quick.
I'm going to learn corporate law through this, like talking about this stuff in the podcast. It's just like every episode. It's just either a bunch of criminals or a bunch of lawsuits.
No, Matt, you're here for the financial stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Your brother.
Yeah, we gotta get Chris in.
Your brother is the law guy.
Okay.
He's the only one willing to read court documents.
It sounds a lot like the rules to Whose Line Is It Anyway?
That
Where the points are made up.
It doesn't matter.
Nothing matters. I forget how it goes.
The points are made up and they don't matter.
Yeah.
First, there was a suit against their former officers that shareholders had been misled when they sold their own stock. The judge, however, ruled in favor of the bigwigs, dismissing the claim as the holders had, quote, not said or did anything more than publicly adopt a hopeful posture that its strategic plans would pay off.
Yeah, it's not lying if you believe it too.
Here's my legal translation. They're full of shit.
Yeah. So that one's thrown out.
Yeah.
In January 2010, Midway creditors accused Sumner Redstone, Sherry Redstone, and their directors of fraud and breach of duty. This in response to the loans and subsequent sale of his heavy majority stake to Mark Thomas, which increased the gaming publisher's net debt and wiped their operating and tax losses. Except this too was dismissed when a different judge wrote that, despite it not being an endorsement of any of the defendants' actions, they did, quote, oversee the ruin of a once successful company only to hide behind the protective skirt of Delaware law, which the court is bound to apply. So the Delaware thing came back.
Yeah.
But yeah, this sucks. They were more or less like, yes, we know, but there's nothing you can legally do about it.
You know what? I bet... How much do you think Sherry now regrets being on the receiving end of all those shares? She's probably just like, man, I'm like taking the back door into riches, and then she's one lawsuit later, it's just like, hey, you're the primary shareholder, you're liable now. She's like, fuck.
She is I just look it up.
Mm-hmm.
She is the chair of the board for the reuniting of CBS and Viacom, known today as Paramount Global.
Well.
On to bigger and brighter.
So now when we do an episode about, we don't do media, but when Paramount Plus fails, our name will come up again.
Yeah.
Great.
Didn't slow her down one
Man,
bit.
that's just like, God dang. It's
how many
just
chances you get?
Talk about injustice. It's like, yeah, she ran a successful company to the ground, or at least was partly responsible for it. It's like, well, what's her reward? She's even richer.
Let's run another one. It's fine.
Yeah, and she's running a different company and is probably just as rich.
Too big to
fail. Her dad, who put her in place after being replaced at CBS by Les Moonves, then got his power back and replaced Les Moonves with his daughter after she tanked Midway.
Oh man,
being rich rules.
Oh God, dude,
and you don't have any responsibility.
There's zero accountability at all.
That's the word I was looking for. Accountability. Yeah.
A month later in February, Midway filed its proposed plan of liquidation with the bankruptcy court. As per the document, those in-house claims would be removed and a partial recovery could be pursued by the unsecured creditors who held $155 million in them fees, to the extent of 16.5%, and the subsidiaries who held $36.7 million as well. Any settlement found under the lawsuit on National Amusements was to be paid to the two groups in the same ratio, while holders of the secured and priority claims were to be reimbursed in full. NA couldn't see any assistance through its sub-oriented loan agreement, and equity holders wouldn't receive squat.
So, okay, did the debtors of these people, did they ever see a dime of...
Probably not.
They tried.
I'm sure they tried.
I mean, there might have been like a settlement out of... Oh, okay, no. Okay, I got some of that. On May 21st, the proposal was approved. Midway needed to share $25.5 million with the unsecured creditors and $9.2 million with the subsidiaries.
Okay.
A trust was then installed, administered by Butchwald Capital Advisors, LLC, to ensure any remaining rights from their estate was effectively given.
Yeah, okay.
During June of 2010, the gaming giant that once was submitted a Form 15 with the SEC that killed public registration of its securities.
Wow.
Meaning the outstanding charges against National Amusements and the Redstone family were finally over.
Wow.
Going forward, that investor group trustee went on to file 57 instances of avoidance and sought to recover nearly $3 million in transfers made by Midway to its creditors prior to the bankruptcy declaration.
Damn, they're kicking the change out of their pockets while they're already on the ground.
Welcome to the American economy.
Well, I was gonna say, it's like, dude, it's like all these people that Midway owed a ton of money to. It's basically like, it's like once they realized that like the corpse wasn't even cold before the vultures swooped in and were just like, yo, what can we pick out of this that's worth even just a smattering of money? Like, I'd like just dust, and it's like, that's it. It's like, it's just, when you owe someone money like that,
how much
it's
more
like,
blood can you squeeze from the
That's
stone,
it.
right?
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's like when you're owed a lot of money like that, and it's like there's no money to be had. It's like you usually just start peeling apart the company and just taking whatever, pretty much anything not nailed down. You just say it's yours.
You're pulling
now.
the copper wire out.
You're
of the
pulling
wall.
the copper wire out of the walls. Yeah, it's like just, dude, it's just vultures at a corpse. Just take whatever you can get.
And so March 2011, everything was dismissed, along with the proceeding by Threshold Entertainment and any and all of the Cruis'n USA guys' lonesome assets, and the publisher and name itself were officially dissolved shortly thereafter. The final nail in the coffin had been struck. At least THQ had a clean ride ahead of them. So,
Smooth sailing. That judge's gavel came down, and that was hitting the nail.
So that ending right there was so...
Or I guess I shouldn't call him the Cruis'n USA guys since Nintendo still owns that, but...
That ending was so...
PsyOps guys.
It was so much bloodier than I would have expected. Like, it's like there's a lot of companies that just file for bankruptcy, get, their IPs get bought out, but it was like, no, that was bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
That was...
I apologize for having to end it with that stuff there, which is why I went to go around the room and ask the expected question. Which single Midway release or series meant the most to each of you? And Hardball, excluding Mortal Kombat.
You know what? I was going to say we got to take out Mortal Kombat because that's a solid
I think
one.
that's too obvious.
I mean, going through this reminded me, first of all, just like how many great B games and third-party titles they contributed to the industry, which I think, as we've discussed now, is sorely missing from the industry. It's like as much as like I miss these.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think we all miss.
That's why
these
we're hoping for the return of that with like the rise of Game Pass.
Yes, and it's like I think we miss the third party studio they contributed. It's like there's a couple titles in there that I was just like I love that game. Probably for me, the two that you pulled out. Actually, I'm gonna go for three.
Okay.
The Gauntlet Dark Legacy.
Good choice.
Absolutely love. Army Men, Sarge's Heroes was great, and Rampage World Tour was like, dude, I loved those games. No, those are like, just like I have so much love for those games.
I think for me, running the one that just really sticks, I might say Stranglehold. Like, and on top of those classics, but there's something about the charm and the memories I have.
Not PsyOps.
I love PsyOps. Yeah, I could return to both of those games and have fun pretty much instantly, but. I mean, I know, like to run through, there's just for you guys to have a more, there's the NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. There's the, all the.
I don't need you to run through it.
49, yeah.
I got 3 as well since Matt got 3.
All right.
There you go.
I'm gonna say PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy.
Okay. Awesome.
NHL Hits Pro.
Okay.
And NBA Ballers.
Ballers.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I've had such a limited experience with Midway games as a whole.
Yeah.
Like NBA Ballers.
Hey, you played Seven Sorrows.
Well, I'm getting to it. I got NBA Ballers. I experienced at a family friend's house.
Yeah.
They just had a GameCube in the basement. I was like, that game is dope. And then like arcades. Like I was saying, like Blitz and,
Carnival.
Yeah, well, no, not Carnival. I stayed away from that. It was lame. Wussy button.
It's a very edgelordy.
You know what? And
Marilyn Manson.
What really sucks is being however old I was and then getting Gauntlet 7 Sorrows, and it all detracts from all of the, little bites of Midway that I've had over the years.
Yeah.
So, dead and buried.
Man, this is tough for me. I don't think I could Stranglehold. Is a big one for me, but when I really flash back to my childhood, Rampage World Tour and Gauntlet.
Oh, and Gauntlet.
I
I will also throw in an honorable mention, Cruis'n USA for what it was.
Yeah.
When you played it with a friend, it was just good, it was kind of schlocky fun, I would say. It was just kind of
Spy Hunter. My last shout out is going to be Roadkill. I think more people should.
Roadkill. Yeah,
Can I specifically say Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe?
I almost was gonna say that's the oddball one that you could
Game's sick.
and PsyOps, of course, but
yeah.
Oh man. All right. Follow up between Acclaim, THQ, and Midway. Who do you feel reigns supreme?
Yeah, THQ. Yeah. I guess it's not really.
You can't. The triple threat of Red Faction, Saints Row, and Darksiders. I guess.
Oh, absolutely. No, they
plus SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Can't forget that.
Right.
THQ was they didn't release as much as Midway. Clearly, Midway clearly had kind of a churn going on a little bit, especially towards the end. But
I think Acclaim was probably the most mill out of all of them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In terms of the hey, this cartoon's popular. Let's get out.
It is weird though because
get something into Blockbuster.
I guess the proposed question is kind of analogous to which one would you bring back? But THQ and Midway
they live on.
like Embracer is just THQ if somebody gave it a shit ton of steroids, and Warner Brothers is just like Bugs Bunny puppeting the corpse of Midway. So like I don't know.
Man, that was a missed opportunity for that was a missed opportunity for the new MK trilogy. Just throwing a Looney Tunes character.
They made multiverses.
Yeah.
I still think it would have been better if I could play as Yosemite Sam and shoot off somebody's face in Mortal Kombat. It'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
What's the deal with multiverses?
It's coming out soon.
It already came out.
Next year, no.
Listen, how many times can we say TBD before you get it?
It's coming out next year.
There's already several universes where it already has come out.
You schedule it for the fourth quarter, and then you push
played
it
a
back.
beta.
They didn't call it a beta.
It's coming out next year.
TBD.
So that's the rise and fall of Midway. They may be dust in the wind now, but the imprint they left in the industry is just inarguably so important. So good night, sweet princess. May your legacy carry on, and may nothing bad happen to NetherRealm, please. Because I know Warner Brothers, like, aren't they kind of... Didn't they want out? Wasn't that the rumor of making games?
Warner Brothers does not have a lot of money. They recently got purchased by Discovery.
Right, yeah. That whole fucking...
And that was why they wanted out. But it turns out that how much you want to bet Mortal Kombat 1 makes more money than any movie that...
Warner Brothers has done
this year.
Yeah. Warner Brothers.
Oh, that's not true. Warner Brothers was responsible for Barbie.
I forgot.
Damn, they got
how could they?
Barbie in one hand and Mortal Kombat in the other. Time to fuse those worlds.
That's the two halves of my brain.
Oh my god, dude, we need a Barbie combat for sure.
No more.
Actually, all the characters are just the different models of Barbie that have come
Homelander.
out.
Put Ken in MK1.
Yeah.
Well, like when you cut him in half, it's just plastic.
Yeah.
So let's subvert the SRB.
Would be fine with it.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Special thanks as always to all of you and to the listeners. Additional appreciation to my sources, Moby Games, Game Sutra, or is it Gamma Sutra? GameIndustry.biz, IGN, Business Week, the Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Tribune, Billboard Magazine, Digital Media Wire, Digital Trends, Kotaku, the LA Times, Gamer Daily News, GameSpot, Bloomberg, JonesandAssociates.com, Joystick, PC Gamer, and of course, archive.org and Wiki. But Austin, let's do plugs.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for listening. We mentioned a bunch.
We did.
Like 15 episodes. Go check all those out and more. Podbuttoncast.com. Also, all the podcast services. And if you want to follow us on social media for information on upcoming episodes and stuff like that, you can follow us at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at HotButtonCast.
Oh, what song are you going to close us out with?
I was thinking about that when you were talking.
What track defines Midway? Maybe the main menu, Cruis'n USA.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I was thinking the Mortal Kombat song.
No, we got to save that for when we do the Mortal Kombat movie.
That's true.
Yeah, we can't blow that wad this early.
I don't know.
I mean, whatever it is, you're all listening to it now. Like they can hear it. So.
Oh, I know.
Do you?
I'm gonna use the NBA Ballers theme because it was an original rap song written for NBA Ballers, and it's stuck. It gets stuck in my head every once in a while to this day. So,
well, Cruis'n gets the opening song.
Yeah, we'll do a Cruis'n USA opening and NBA Ballers closing. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
And good luck.
And when you go to the rack, make sure you bring pain. Nothing but true players, all of the top guys. The one that brought you arch rivals gave you a new vibe. I know you was a fan of NBA jams. He's on fire when the mic's in his hand. We took it to the concrete instead of the hard pine. With titles like Hang Time, even the Showtime. And I'm supernatural, you can ball with me. So let's ball and see who can be the MVP.